Morning, crew. This is a walk and talk. Haven't done one of these in a while. Was listening with Pastor Joe to Saw. He does them every morning as part of his routine. He takes a walk, and while he walks, he makes a video, which is a good use of time. And it's something that PJ and I have done in the past as well. And in Saw's video, he dropped some nuggets of wisdom and talked about people emoting on his channel and how it's inappropriate when someone is trying to bring you into their world, into their living room. You don't just start yelling at them. Also, a little bit of life experience. He's also a veteran and has some knowledge about things that he talks about. And when he drops his pearls of wisdom, just like when Pastor does, or when I do, about homesteading and off-gridding and stuff, you might want to listen instead of just jumping down our throat. And today's talk, one of the things I wanted to discuss, because it also happened this morning, was I'm in a discussion on Instagram about socialized healthcare. And people complaining about how much everything costs right now. Wouldn't it be great if healthcare was quote unquote free? And the naivete of that outlook is what kind of gets me a little crazy. Free healthcare will not be free. And yes, there are countries like New Zealand and Norway who have quote unquote free healthcare. I don't know about New Zealand, but I do know about Norway. Norway has a national company, an oil company, that makes lots and lots of money every year, and that's one of the reasons they can pay for free healthcare. Not so much, I have no idea what their taxes are like, but I know that things are expensive in Norway. Hotel rooms, food, clothing, that may be part of what pays for the free healthcare. And I also know from personal experience, a Canadian wife, military wife. Her husband was a helicopter pilot, and we were in a foreign country together as foreign military wives. And she told me that 60% of their paycheck went in taxes. And that was 20, 30 years ago. 60%. I cannot imagine living on 60% of what Pastor makes right now. But we would make do. But she had 3 kids. And she was in a foreign country. So she had extra costs, and it was driving, she was a nervous wreck because of it. And then here's a thought for any of you who are like, yeah, free healthcare. Nothing is ever free. Somebody has to pay for the surgeons, the doctors, the offices, the paperwork, the equipment, the medicine, the treatments. All of that has to be paid by somebody because it's costing somebody to make the bandages, to make the medicines, to come in and work all day long. The Bible says, he who does not work shall not eat. So there's a cost in there. And in a little country, your whatever part you're being taxed or charged for your free healthcare, you are paying for everyone else in your country as well. And there's not as many of you. Some of these countries with this healthcare are smaller than states like Texas and California, and are more like the size of, states like Alabama. That's not a lot of people to have to pay for. But America is not a little bitty country. America is a great big country full of 50 different states, and your tax money's got to pay for everyone else. That's 330 million of your fellow citizens, including the rich people. Because in this socialist fantasy, we'll just tax the rich a whole lot, and then they'll pay for all of our health care. That's not how that works. Do you really think the rich people are going to allow anyone to tell them what to do with their money? Do you really think the rich people in America are going to say, okay, sure, take all this money that I've worked really hard, created my own corporation, competed with other people, spent years of my life building, building, building up? Do you really think they're just going to say, here, take our money and let's pay for people that we see as addicted or lazy or unwilling to work for what they want in life, in a country where all you have to do is work and you pay for things and you get things? That's what capitalism is. Here, you can't just sit around. It's not a socialist country. You don't get to sit around and just be addicted to something and somebody else pay for your food and everything else. You're a leech. You're a parasite. You're sucking off your own society, your own family, your friends, your fellow citizens. That's all you're doing. It's not a wonderful existence. If you live like that, what you're doing is actually you're divorced from the reality of life here on earth, because everything on earth has to eat, well, it doesn't have to move, but it has to grow. You cannot be a mammal and not need to protect yourself from the weather. Uh, there's the urgency to procreate, to have young, and the young ones need to eat and be sheltered and be taught and so on. And so if you are just refusing to take responsibility for yourself and take care of your own needs, then you're ignoring the reality of being here. And you're just like I think they're called moray fish or remora, that suck on the bottom of a shark and just ride around. Anyway, what the rich people are going to do if we decide to socialize medicine here in the US is they're either going to go to they're going to take all their money out of our economy and they're going to go to a country who doesn't tax their money and where they can buy really good health care. Say like India. Lots of people go to India to have serious operations like orthopedic surgery, knee replacements, hip replacements, because it's way cheaper there and the medical care is very good. So there is no ha ha ha, we got you rich people, you're our enemy. There is none of that. If healthcare gets 100% socialized here in America, what happens is it falls to the backs of people who are not able. Sorry, cat jumping on the table, making the whole thing rock. It falls to the backs of people who are not able to leave the country, who don't have that much money, but are still earning some kind of income, and they're all going to be dragged down by the weight of having to pay for everybody else's healthcare. And that's already happening in our country to an extent. The Obama healthcare plan did exactly that. If you make a certain amount of money and you're an individual or you're married, you have a huge deductible. It's like $5,000-$6,000. That $5,000-$6,000 that you're paying in for your deductible is paying for other people's health care who don't earn as much money as you. And it's why our middle class, especially our lower middle class, is really being pinched these days. That and the inflation. The inflation that the Biden administration has caused to happen is making everyone unlimited incomes barely be able to make it, barely be able to pay their mortgage, barely be able to buy their groceries, pay for their automobiles and their insurance. And a lot of people are homeless. You see it in all the big cities. Lots of people are now homeless. Lots of people are moving back in with their parents because they can't financially support themselves. It's a horrible economy. And it'll only be worse if nationalized healthcare happens, because right now, part of the population is paying for all the people of a certain income level and under, millions of people. Well, when it becomes nationalized, which means the whole country is involved in it, 330 million people's healthcare will need to be paid for by somebody. And it won't be the rich. And it will just kill our economy. And that's when the socialists will be, well, the state will take care of everything. Watch some movies, watch some news about life in Russia under communism, socialism, and see what the apartments look like, what the vehicles were like, TikToks and reels and things of Soviet countries right now, of Russian countries right now. Look at how bad they are. It was a third world country. The only thing that's pulling the old USSR out of its poverty for everyone who lived there is the fact that they turned capitalist, that they opened up and they started selling things and buying things and doing trade and providing gas to other countries and getting paid for it. And now they're able to start. There are some rich folks in Russia who don't even live in Russia because they don't like Putin. They moved to England. There's a whole documentary on them. They rent apartments there just for their dogs. They're that rich now. They own places like the Russian version of Walmart. But that wouldn't happen under the Soviet regime. The Soviet regime, only the Communist Party members got benefits, and even they didn't have anything compared to rich Americans, rich Brits, rich fill in the blank, French, Italians. And that's why they decided, no, we're tired of our communism, we're going to switch. And the same thing happened with China. Under Mao, 5 million Chinese starved. And then they imposed that one child thing on everybody. And that still didn't fix their country. And so now they've opened up part of their country, and now they're selling weapons and ammunition and toys and everything to everybody around the world and getting rich and being able to upgrade. So capitalism is the best system for living on this planet. And what people need to do is quit complaining about, well, I don't have this and I don't have that and blah, blah. Get out of your non-reality box of video game watching or addiction or whatever you're in and start working. From dawn to dusk, work. Doesn't mean you have to have a job. You can farm. You can ranch. You can pick fruit. You can make art. But you have to do something to support yourself. You really, really do. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. Bless you. Shalom.